going to do a bit of an intro, some background knowledge whilst Nathaniel's setting up. So I'm the Young People's producer from Contact, and Contact Theatre is an amazing theatre. We've come all the way from Manchester, and it's got young people right at the core. So one fact that we like to share is that every member of staff has to face a youth panel. They're very persuasive. If they don't like you, then it goes back out into the ether, the post goes back out. So every single member of staff has been brought into contact with the young people's stamp on it, and it's very terrifying, I could say. So yeah, Contact, we do a lot. We do poetry, we do drama, obviously, music production, we teach young people about technical skills, and we also have projects like the Agency and Future Fires that encourage young people to go into their communities and set up arts projects or even business projects. And you can find out more about that if you come and chat to me. I've got some reports for you to look at, and you've got an insert, I think, in your bag. So yeah, mainly I'm going to talk about CYC, Contact Young Company. We do 3 shows a year, and the first show that we did this year was the riskiest show to date. So we worked with the amazing director Stacey McKeeshy, Nathaniel, who's the assistant director, and our lead artist Nathan Cossins-Smith. And they worked in direct response to the Wellcome Trust exhibition. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It was in London, it's closed now, and it was called the Institute of Sexology, and it was an amazing exhibition, and they got to go to London, respond to it, do a series of workshops, and just have a big old exploration. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Nathaniel to tell you more about the process. If you want to speak to any of us at the break, then yeah, just come find us, we'll be happy to talk more.
Thanks very much, Keisha. Yeah, go on, give it a I'm a freelance theatre practitioner based in Manchester. I'm actually alumni of the Contact Young Company. Many years ago I was in the group myself. I've kind of been blessed with the opportunities that Contact provides and the support that Contact provides in that transition from being a participant into being a practitioner. It's really nice that I've been invited to stand up here and speak to you guys as well. I also work for 20 Stories High, who are performing tonight at Chrysalis with the show Heads. So big up them as well, because they're absolutely amazing, and I'm sure you love their work. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the show that we created under the covers. So here we go. So you will get chlamydia and I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, and obviously it's used for comedic effect in the film Mean Girls, but the humour lies in the fact that many of us can relate to the out-of-depth teacher standing up trying to talk about sex in the classroom. And let's face it, us Brits, Scots, English, Wales, people from Wales, we're not that good at talking about taboo subject matter. And it's not just sex that we struggle with. Drugs, drug addiction, crime, immigration, politics, religion, race, sexuality. These are all topics that make us anxious at the very first mention. So, what holds us back? Fear. I think it is, right, that is the bottom line, it is fear that holds us back. And our society that we live in the Western world, is permeated with fear. Well, I certainly think it's permeated with fear. And we see it in the press, we see it on news, we see it on our social media streams on a daily basis. We live in one of the most watched countries in the world, and yet we're still fearful. We live in a world where young girls are told to fear low predatory males, I've lost my place, there we go, and where the default expectation of our young men is that they'll grow up to be misogynists and rapists. We live in a country constantly on high terror alert, although quite what from, no one's really sure. We fear our food, no that's the wrong one, we fear that immigrants are eroding what it means to be British, and we fear that our food is giving us cancer. I'm going to be really hungry when I film that. I don't care, bacon's too good. We fear that our teens are too high, or are taking substances that will kill them, or at least turn their brains to mush. And we fear that sex will either get us pregnant, or even kill us. So we live in constant fear. And I think as adults we want to protect our young people from that fear and the fear that we're subjected to on a daily basis, and we want to protect innocence for as long as possible. But young people don't live outside of the world that we do, they occupy it with us. And I think often they're more astute to the pains, the pressures of the world that we give them credit for. So it's only right that we start talking, and we need to start talking to our young people, talking to them, with them, and most importantly, we need to be listening to them. So, when Contact's creative development team first called me and asked me to come on board to assist on a show about sex, my first reaction was, well, what would the parents think? Teachers, the carers. What if people think it's inappropriate? What if we open a can of worms too big for us to handle? What if all the young people start shagging like rabbits? What if someone gets chlamydia and dies? Fear. And it's set in me, the fear. So I think I'm a pretty open-minded, liberal kind of guy, and I think these guys will probably say as well. And I pride myself on my work tackling intimate and challenging issues with young people head on. But I was surprised by that internal struggle that I was having, and that fear. I think maybe it was the sobering words of the safeguarding officer from the recent training I just had, or so I know, some sort of deep internalised shame, a hangover from Coach Carr's sex ed class. And then along came Stacey. And I'll never forget the first workshop that we did with Stacey Nikishi, who's a performance artist originally from Hawaii. After we all went down to London, we all looked around the Institute of Sexology, it was all very sacred. It was a museum, we were very well behaved, and we went down into the basement. We met Stacey for the first time, and within about 30 seconds, she had every single one of us humping the carpet and taking an orgasm. That kind of set the tone of what was to come. So, Stacey introduced us to a concept, and you might have heard it before, aloha, which is Hawaiian, and it means many, many things, but first and foremost it means love. Love, not fear. And then it became apparent to me, for all the progress we've made on sexual liberation here in the UK, I think we've still got a long way to go before we start to learn to love ourselves and our sexual partners and the sex that we are having as well. So, that's the slide for the show here. So, from the minute we started the process of creating Under the Covers, it was really, really clear to me the conversations the young people in CYC wanted to have were really urgent. These guys really desperately needed to talk about sex, and now they had a platform, a voice. So firstly, in the process, we bottom-lined our fears. What were they and how were they holding us back? And during these early conversations, a particular phrase emerged in the rehearsal room, and that was, well, you'll hear it in the show up there, that actually, there's something you should know about me, ... And this became the group's way of testifying, of standing up naked, most metaphorically, but not always, and declaring their identity. And sometimes it was really empowering, sometimes it was very vulnerable, and very often it was conflicting and really confusing as well. Now, I'm someone that grew up in Protestant church, and I've always been fascinated with this idea of testifying and laying out your story for everyone to hear, and for others to bear witness to your own humility, your humanity and your fragility as a human. And I think in today's secular world, I don't think we ever get that opportunity very often. So I think it's a really, really powerful tool for healing, and in the case of CYC, it was a tool for sexual healing as well. I should put the song in there, shouldn't I? But it wasn't all group circles and opening of hearts and sob stories. No, definitely not. Soon the group were tackling sexuality, sex toys, orgasms, and the darker side of human sexuality, such as BDSM and rape. And then it came the next moral dilemma to hit the team, and that was, is it okay for young people to be sexy on stage? I think the answer is yes. I mean, let's face facts, many young people, rightly or wrongly, you can discuss that between yourselves, are sexual beings from the early to mid-teens. I know I certainly was at the age of 14. So here's the rub though. Most teens in the UK lack the sexual knowledge needed in order to have a safe and healthy sex life. And this, I think, leaves many people unable to confidently pursue the sex that they want later on in adult life. I think we should be celebrating sex. Too much of the rhetoric around sex and indeed other taboo subjects as well is very factual, and I think it's devoid of real human experience, emotion and opinion. And I think young people rarely get the chance to question why it's like this, to question authority, to challenge the status quo, think critically about why our society is the way it is around these subjects. And under the covers, if you do come and see it, you'll find is a real celebration of human sexuality, but of just being human as well. And it takes you on this mini sexual journey from the start of the show, little flirtations, it takes you through to foreplay, to full-on sex, to orgasm, and then it takes you finally to the place where we're most exposed and we're truly ourselves, pillow talk. I've been absolutely bowled over, honestly. I mean, I've worked with young people from all over the Northwest, and I genuinely have been bowled over by this group's honesty, bravery, and their supportiveness of one another. The group ranges in age from 17 to 25, 26, and they've got a huge variation in sexual experience. Some of them have, openly said they've never had sex before, and it's been amazing to see the supportiveness of those people who are more sexually experienced in sharing their experiences and sharing their stories about, taking that step into sexual life. They've shared really, really intimate truths. They've cried together an awful lot, with probably a little bit too much. And I think they've created one of the most simply honest and brave shows I've ever witnessed. I mean, not all of CYC secrets will be revealed in the show. I would say about 20% of what we've done has made it into the show, and that is probably the tamest 20% of what we've done in the rehearsal room. And some of it will be staying well and truly buried under the mattress, but they, during the show, invite you as well to come under the covers and snatch a glimpse of their stories. Sexologist Alfred Kinsey once said to his undergrad class, "In an uninhibited world, you'd know everything I'm going to teach you about sex in this class by the age of 12. So I hope for those of you who come and see it under the covers, you'll be inspired to pull back the duvet in your life a little bit and become a little bit more open about one of the most beautiful, confusing and contradictory acts that makes us who we are. CYC tackled the taboo subject of sex, and you know what? No one got chlamydia. Not that no one. No one got chlamydia and no one died. So what are we so fearful for?
We're running a bit behind schedule because I went on a bit. But what I think is such a fantastic speech and also topic. So if people have got any questions, Keisha, would you want to join us? Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Nathaniel or Keisha about the process or about anything that came up for you during the... Yeah. So could you tell us who you are, where you're from,
I'm European Extension National College in Museum of Happiness by the Contemporary Arts. How did you ensure the safety, particularly mental health wise, of your participants during the devising process, particularly when it sounds like with what you're working with, you really couldn't know what they were going to come out with when you're giving them content to respond to? Or asking them questions.
It was really clear, I think, that very early on this group was ready to share. And I think that's something, as a practitioner, you have to always be aware of what level, and I think you have to pick up quite quickly on what level the group's willing to share at, and that all the participants are sort of in the same place, emotionally and mentally, because quite often if you've got one person who's very willing to push and share, and then a few people that aren't, that can then hold them back.
And we, in the early workshops, boundaries were set as well. So it was like, you don't need to say anything you don't want to say. So that was very clear. So people didn't feel inclined to share or comment on what anyone else had said. And we have a very strong safeguarding policy and network. So when young people felt uncomfortable, they'd come and speak to myself or my boss, Susie. So we made sure that there was a big network there the whole time.
It's actually interesting because within the show, one of the statements is there's something you should know about me, but you don't. And that was one participant's choice to say, I don't want to share anything. at this point in time in my life, in this process, or whatever, or whether it was just in that rehearsal or the whole process. So I think it was fostering that atmosphere where it was really clear, but also just like we was talking about what Stacey brought to the process with love and aloha and just humanity, and just being there and saying it's okay, and and Stacey and myself also being exposed and fragile as well. So as a group, it was always a support.
Yeah, the tone was set. It was a very safe space, and we always made sure that everyone was comfortable. We checked in with them before and after. So it was just a constant checking process.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
How long did it take to make it? I mean, how long was the process?
9 weeks. Yeah. So we did 5 weeks of workshops. Not 5 solid weeks. 5 weeks of 2 workshops a week with guest artists. And then 4 weeks of rehearsal, and that was more intense, so working every week.
That's the usual format for the shows. It will vary from 8 to 5 weeks of workshops, and then go into 4 intensive weeks for creating the show.
And this is a model that you guys have used before, then inviting guest artists.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that guest artist is chosen, and then the impact that you wanted to have?
So they were part of the SICK Festival. That's the festival that the show premiered in, and we made sure that we could bring some guests from that festival into the space. So it was about who was around and who covers similar topics. So we had Kate O'Donnell, who's got a show called Big Girls Blouse, which was about being transgender and sexuality and learning about yourself in that way. We had Rosanna and Amy Cade, sister. So they do a show about it's about sisterhood, but there's also a lot of content that's about sexuality and sex. So they were able to come in. So it was mainly about varied skills that could be offered to young people, because that's what the workshop process is about, trying to just stretch them and get them to learn different skills, and then also about covering the relevant subject matter.
Any other questions? I think we've got plenty of time, but maybe 2 more.
When you spoke about the exhibition down in London, is that what sparked the idea for the group, or had they already decided that that's what they wanted to explore, and it just so happened that exhibition was there? I was just wondering, did the group come up with the idea, or did you come to the group with a thought?
So the theme was already in place.
Okay. From yourselves?
Yes. So Contact, we put the general theme in place, but then in terms of what comes out in the end, content-wise, that is purely down to the people. That's
it was, and I think what Stacey and myself, when we first met and we discussed what we wanted from the process and what from the show, we were really keen to not make it prescriptive. So we went to see the exhibition. It was a response to that in its broadest sense. It was then wherever that journey took us, we went, and I was really keen for us to not get bogged down into the mechanics of sex and biology and everything that's kind of in sex ed, and let young people talk about the joyous things as well, and the joyous side of sex.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, did you have any issues from participants or parents who were unhappy with the content and maybe didn't want to participate, and how did you deal with that?
See the show. Find out. Yeah, the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
There is. It's dealt with actually within the show because it was part of the process,
right.
and it's there's young people who have very different lives at home to the one that we have in the rehearsal room, and that's all. That issue is all dealt with within the show. We did have a couple of participants, as sort of always, sort of fall by the wayside. Either that would just be through personal circumstance, but actually we did have one participant who found the process too difficult and decided to step away. We were keen that person's voice stayed within the show, and they were happy for that as well. And then there's the whole process of having the great, the creative development team, Keisha, there to help support the young people that do feel that they need to take a step back.
Yeah, so we did have to call a few parents, which was completely fine. Anyone who came to the office and said my mum's not comfortable, I'd just give them a call and we'd have a chat about it, really. It's just best to be transparent. That's one thing that I said to the young people, because some wanted to say, oh, I'll tell my mum it's about this. No, we won't do like that. Just give me a number and I'll call it. So yeah, we were just honest with the whole process, and a lot of parents came to see the show during the City Festival and they loved it. And I think that was a learning process for all young people, because you do get scared. Whatever it is that you produce as an artist, you worry about the people closest to you seeing it. But so many young people had their parents come see it.
I was worried when my mum came.
Yeah.
Young people brandishing dildos on stage. I'll never work again. But yeah, I think again it comes down to that thing about fear and being scared to talk about these issues, and it's like, actually, you know, our parents have obviously all had sex. So, you know, I think it's just like Keisha says at the start, it's about being open and honest with these difficult subject matters, and just always being transparent and always making sure there's a clear narrative for any participants that you can give or stand back as much as you like in that process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing the experience, and we're all looking forward to seeing the show this weekend. I hope that many people can get along to see it, not just hear about the experience, but also see the end product. Some of the company will be with us throughout the day, and some of them are going to be needing to head off and so on. And I think Nathaniel, you're until the end of the break here today, so if anybody wants to grab. But also Nathaniel will be about the festival, so you can grab him during there if you want to kind of ask him further. And we've got the delegate list if you want to be in touch. But can you please give a huge thanks to everyone.